Welcome for the final time in 2021 to the Inside LAFC Max and Vince podcast.
You're doing that voice? What is that voice?
It is outdoor voice.
Oh, callback to the last podcast. Huh?
I listened to it, and my voice wasn't indoory. It was in the middle. It was
Did we
regular.
do a podcast?
We did a podcast with John Thorrington.
Oh, I just erased that from my memory because everyone told me how horrible it was.
Did they really?
They did. Oh, they did. They left you alone. Why did they come for me?
No, I got it too.
Oh, you did?
Because I obviously,
you just wear it better.
I'll retweet it and repost it on my social media handles. I go, hey, great interview. And I'm like, rah, rah, rah.
Max doesn't engage.
I do engage sometimes.
You wear it a lot better, whereas I'm sending Max tweets like, ugh.
Well, LAFC released their interview with John Thorrington, and the same thing happened, and people are just...
Do you want to give people a little bit of how the sausage was made? Because some people have reached out to me and saying, wow, did you send Max back to go talk to John Thorrington to make up
for two interviews
how bad
the
your
same
podcast
day.
was? Yeah, if you don't recognize, Max is wearing the same clothes. Max's interview with John was before our interview, and then we did the podcast, which is one of the reasons why the podcast was a little bit shorter than we may have liked. However, we got John Thorrington once again for a good 45 minutes. And you want to tell me that this club is not transparent? Find me the other clubs that their GM is talking for 45 minutes.
And telling you exactly what they're going to do. And let's quick, do we need to do introductions? Hopefully you know it's Vince LaRosa, Max Barretos, we're here. But we're going to get into a variety of topics. Everyone was wondering about how active LAFC has been. I can't think there's a club that's been more active, and the proof is in what I'm going to tell you. Comings and goings, I believe.
Yeah,
Let's talk 5 players in that mix.
Tell you what, it doesn't look like tweaks to me.
It doesn't look like tweaks, but those were John's words. But tweaks can be big. So I think without jumping the gun, you can see that this club has a nice foundation, but tweaks can be big tweaks. But there are going to be some big moves coming your way, and we're going to talk about them. Eduard Atuesta is now at Palmeiras. They're going to get a replacement for him. They're obviously going to look for a goalkeeper based on all the activity in that position. And we've talked to the club, and they've said that is on their list. They're going to get a DP in the winter market, which is news because we weren't 100% sure, but that has been said. They are going to get it. And then the news about Carlos Vela, how that's going to be handled over the next couple, as his contract will officially expire by the summer. And then a new coach, which should be a long process because based on our conversation with John, there has been a wide net, people contacting him from everywhere. Everyone wants this job because it's an incredible job. But before we get into all of that, I know you wanted to mention about what John Thorrington does in giving you that transparency that I've been in this business a long time. It is very rare, if not impossible to ever see, but everything he says, without giving you too much information because you can't, he gives you a pathway to what this club is doing, and it follows that pathway time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could probably get John before the start of the season. My first question is going to be, why'd you say tweaks?
There's no tweaks.
There's not tweaks. But
those are LAFC. But you know what? He's coming from an LAFC perspective where there are tweaks. That's what Thomas Tuchel would say right before he signed Romelu Lukaku. That's a tweak.
Well, if I could read his mind, because you got to understand, John doesn't just do the players, doesn't just find the coaches. He's involved in everything. So in his mind, when he says tweaks, I think what he was trying to say is what he told you right off the top of your interview with him was, we are absolutely not changing our style play. This is the way the club is going to be played, and this is the way we're going to go forward. So I think in his mind, it's a tweak because an overhaul would be, oh my God, we're going to play Jose Mourinho-esque football, and we're going to sit on the back foot. So I think that's why I said tweaks, because you and I both know John very well. He is very open with us, but he's also very measured with his words. So I think if he said tweak, he meant it for some reason, although fans took it a different way. But you told me when we sat down, just before we started, you said, LAFC's actually been, other than Charlotte, who had to make 5 picks and obviously had to be busy because they don't have a full roster, LAFC's been the busiest team in MLS.
But they haven't really, personnel moves, they haven't even really gotten started, right, Charlotte?
Charlotte hasn't really even got started. They've got to fill out a whole roster.
Like Christian Fuchs, who they've kind of brought as an ambassador player.
Yeah. Soon to be their color analyst, I'm sure.
They did get, I want to mention, in case I forget, they did get Pablo Cisniega.
They did.
And I don't know what they're going to do with goalkeeping, but Pablo, just an absolute gentleman. We're going to miss him. I'm happy that he's getting this restart. It was a low a low-risk move for Charlotte, but you get a goalkeeper who's played, and who knows, maybe he becomes that number one. Maybe it all hits for him because, remember, he's still a very young player.
Pablo's interesting. I really liked Pablo a lot, both as a person and a player. He had a tough go of it. I mean, look, we're not sharing any secrets here. LAFC's had tough go at goalkeeper, right? And Pablo kind of got caught in the crosshairs because you could tell he was playing, knowing that he was playing for his job almost every single game. And that's tough. Tough for a young guy. Tough for a guy. I mean, let's not forget, Pablo lost his spleen playing in a game. Like, this guy came back from almost dying.
That. Unbelievable. Almost
dying in Spain. And came back and still played at a high level. He's still very fit. So I wish Pablo the best of luck. He was out of contract. LAFC made that move knowing that they weren't going to sign him. They need to do something else at goalkeeper. But you know what's interesting is we don't talk about this much. A lot of times when we do send guys away, we're sending them to like good places, right? Like, we're not just like, hey,
I have seen.
Well, I don't want to say any names of teams because then I'll feel like I'm slagging those teams. He's going to Charlotte, where they're gonna have incredible games. They're gonna have an incredible crowd. There's gonna be incredible energy around it. Like, that's a pretty good spot for Pablo Land compared to what we could have done. So it's one of those things we rarely talk about. I know it's not high level on a lot of people's radar because they just want to win and they want trophies, and I get that. I don't know. There's something that gives me this. It makes me feel a little bit better. It's still business, and I say this, and there will be a time where a guy will have a lot to say. I mean, look at the guy that's coming in, Franco Escobar. He felt done dirty by Atlanta, not knowing what was going on. So it's just interesting the way that this plays out. We forget sometimes that these guys have to pick up their homes and their families and move them sometimes halfway across the world or halfway across the country, and it's not always easy, man. It's
a great point because so many times people say, what's the best offer? I'm going to send this guy out. And you're like, I can't play here. I don't want to live here. This is... They don't really care, nor should they care.
There's no spot
but some
for me
clubs
there. Like,
figure out, they go, this is a good spot. Yeah. We want to make them whole. I think LAFC has proven that time and time again. Bury the lead a bit. We are going to be joined by Tom Bogert, MLS insider,
Tommy
who breaks
Scoops.
a lot of stories. He's a great writer too. He had some time with John Thorrington as well. And what you will hear, because we've already done the interview, is he is really inside the beltway with LAFC. He has to be that with all the clubs, but it certainly seems that he knows that LAFC is where most of the action is going to be, so I'm going to keep a watchful eye on this. Let's talk about the offseason because I don't think we'll have enough time to get everything in here, so we have to be pretty hasty. But
got to move quick, but there was a big move.
The biggest one is Eduard Atuesta to Palmeiras, and $4 million. It could go up to $7 million. This was a club that was brought up last year, I believe, was 2020 or even earlier.
He was on the radar.
He was on the radar, which shows you that Palmeiras really wants him, which is great for Eduard Atuesta because Palmeiras is a top 20 club in the world, and I would even say top 15 or even higher because talent-wise.
On form right now, especially.
On form. Back-to-back Copa Libertadores winners, which is the Champions League of South America.
Hasn't been done in 20 years.
They're going to play in the FIFA Club World Cup here in February. They lost to Tigres in the semis. Mm-hmm. They'll likely play Monterrey, I should say, or Al Ahly of Egypt in the semis. I think they have a shot of winning it. Chelsea is going to be the tough team on the other side of the bracket. This isn't a Palmeiras broadcast. I'm just trying to convey how big of a club this is. The two midfielders they have, Danilo and Zé Rafael. Danilo is one of the big midfield targets for many European clubs.
20, right?
He's just 20. They have their goalkeeper, Waverton, is the number 3 goalkeeper on the Brazil national team behind the top 2 who play in England. And Manchester City and Liverpool, Gustavo Gomez, one of the best center backs in the world, the Paraguayan captain. I could go on and on. Rony, great striker. This is a team that has a great stadium, even though it's artificial, at the Allianz Parque. Abel Ferreira is a Portuguese coach.
As I say, their coach now is hot property. And usually when a coach, especially in Brazil, wins one Copa Libertadores championship, they take off. They're like, cash in, going now. He stuck around. Now he's got a second. It seems like he wants to stick around and take them and make them club world champions, which is good for Eduard Atuesta.
And I don't know if he'll play in that competition.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll be ready yet, right? But he's down there.
It's going to be a high pressure situation for him. I don't get a lot of traffic on tweets. I put a Palmeiras tag on that. It went crazy viral.
Yeah.
The folks in Palmeiras asking questions. Hey, what about this guy? What about this guy? This is I stirred the pot. I said it's the biggest club in South America right now.
How about,
and everyone was like, wait, they are the biggest club in South America.
You and I, they've won back-to-back Copa Libertadores champions.
But they've done it the right way.
The last team to do that.
They are a conveyor belt of talent, and they want Eduard.
I said in one of our meetings, you know the last team to win back-to-back?
It was Boca.
Boca Juniors, 2000, 2001. So they're with the bigs, right? Because Boca Juniors wins that competition like it's their lifeblood. We should say shout out to a lot of, you and I have now gained a lot of Brazilian supporters on Twitter.
Obrigado.
So let's do them a solid.
Todo mundo paga.
For LAFC fans, you already probably know this, or maybe you don't know this. Let's do them a solid. Let's give them a little scouting profile on Eduard Atuesta. Eduard Atuesta.
All the folks in Sao Paulo. By the way, do I sense a Inside LAFC MVP Sao Paulo road trip?
Oh, I would love it. Yes.
Not Carnival.
For all of our Brazilian followers,
Carnival's coming up too.
Help us out. Give us a place to stay. But Eduard Atuesta, so he plays in that sixth position. He's usually the deepest midfielder. He's a regista type, right? So when we talk about what you can do in that role, you can have a destroyer in that role, you can have a disruptor in that role, but Eduard Atuesta is the classy all-arounder and really dictates the game and controls the game both offensively and defensively by what he does with the ball, right? So he's the guy that if the other team wants to press, he can play in tight spaces and he can play over you with these incredible long passes. If your team wants to sit back, he'll pick you apart. He'll dribble through you. He can score some goals from time to time. He's a decent, really good free kick taker. We didn't get to see enough Eduard Atuesta free kicks because obviously we have a Carlos Vela.
And also an interrupted injury season for him.
But yes, Eduard is, I would say he's the tempo setter. Tempo setter. He's the table setter. He's the guy that everything's going to run through. And if a team like Palmeiras wants Eduard Atuesta to run their team, it's both a compliment to Eduard Atuesta and to what he's done in MLS. Because I don't think, how many guys can you count that really wore an Eduard Atuesta-esque midfielder in this league? I think this was kind of a new thing for the league, right? We had the Valderramas, we had the 10s, the traditional 10s, the kind of guys that could get on the ball, the Marco Echeverries. They were normally farther forward. They would control the game, but by always having the ball farther forward. Then we've had the Diego Charas that can blow you up.
Darlington Nagbe, who's I think he's more of a direct comparison.
Close, but Darlington loves his sideways passes. Eduard Atuesta was risky with his passes, and he could pull those passes off. I would say that he definitely understood the time to play that long ball, play that long pass, and then understood the time. Hey, just keep the ball for a second. Let's let that team fall back so we can get into position, and then let's start the attack. So he's just a very interesting player and one that we're gonna miss in MLS because there's no like you said, Darlington Nagbe is the closest. There's no like for him. So LAFC is gonna be interesting how they either find that role or tweak that role because we did see Chiqui Palacios play as the six, and
Tweak has taken a whole new context.
I shouldn't have said that word.
No, absolutely. Tweak to me is a very positive meaning word now.
Yeah.
Tweak means we're signing Lionel Messi.
I mean, could you imagine?
A little minor.
Could you imagine? But yeah, it's.
By the way, Palmeiras spending that money because these Brazilian clubs build within. They don't spend money from the exterior. So the fact that they said yes to this means they really wanted him.
An initial fee of about $4 million, possibly up to $7 million.
Brazilian clubs go the other way for big numbers.
Yeah.
Palmeiras they'll bring in some guys back from Europe, which they can probably get for a pretty good price. But this from MLS, and now LAFC is kind of on the map because people are doing research about Eduard Atuesta. And I also want to touch on the fact that this is going to help his international aspirations because if he plays well close to the epicenter.
Being in Brazil and being able to get to the Colombian national team is just much shorter flight. Brazil's still a ginormous country, so he's still got to get on a plane. But yes, raises his profile in the Colombian. And you and I both talked to him. This was so important to him. Remember when he captained the team for the Olympics? It meant a lot to him. And honestly, again, and this makes some people frustrated because I know everyone wants LAFC to be a destination only. No outgoings. Everyone comes in here and they stay here forever. Maybe someday it'll be that way. And maybe for some players it'll be that way. But there will always be players that will use this as a stepping stone. And this is what was given to him. In a lot of ways, he stuck around an extra year when he didn't want to, per se. And want to is harsh, right? He always gave his all on the pitch. He was a man that cared about the fans and cared about the supporters, and he lived off of that support. But in the back of his head, he always knew I was brought here with a timetable in my head. I'm now 24, sadly not young in soccer circles anymore.
No, not at all. The clock is ticking.
Yeah. So the player's will is important in this, and then on top of it, we'll go back to that transparency word. the very first conversation of the offseason that John Thornton had, Eduard Atuesta was brought up because his contract situation was an interesting one because he only had a year left, right? And that would have gotten to a place where in the summer he could have negotiated for free. Maybe you lose him for free. And John said, yeah, we're looking to sell Eduard Atuesta. And people said, oh, so maybe in the summertime? No, now. Didn't mince words. Straight up said it and then said it to you and I. No, if we can get it now. So you want to talk about transparency and a GM that doesn't like rumors and doesn't like to spill secrets, but he told you, he's played his hand there. We're doing that. This is what we're doing. And for me, the last thing that I'll just leave on is this was a stepping stone for John Thornton for me.
This was his vision.
I knew he could build a club. He laid out a plan. He carried it through to building a club, building a winner. But the last stepping stone for him was selling players. And Diego Rossi was kind of the first one where he said, good, but that was a loan, right? And it's gonna come through, and he's gonna get that in his belt. But we were still like, can John sell players? This is very different than buying players and establishing talent and understanding that. And now this Eduard Atuesta, you get a guy that we bought for less than $1 million and now could go for upwards of $7 million. I think the book is now closed. John Thornton can sell players. He's proof of concept is now there. And you
mentioned LAFC giving these players good landing spots. Fenerbahce, a massive
name, powerhouse in Turkey.
And playing in Europe. He seems happy. If you follow Diego Rossi's social media, he loves his team. You always see him in. You knew that was going to be Diego. He's just a good dude. And now playing for a two-time reigning Libertadores champion in the Lions' Den of futebol right now in Sao Paulo. And the Brazilian league is moving in such a pace because so much talent is going in there for a variety of clubs. I mean, when you talk about the big 5 European clubs, you probably slot it in there maybe 4th or 5th. It's just that good right now.
What do you think Brian Rodriguez is thinking right now?
I think Brian Rodriguez is saying this club is doing exactly what they said they were going to do. And Diego's got a club. Eduard's a club. I'm younger than both of them by a couple of years. Then if that is what I want, that is what I shall get here at some point.
Yeah, and we've gotten that. So Brian has said this himself. You know, I had to buy in. Why are you playing better, Brian? I had to buy in. I thought I could just kind of coast off my talent, and you could tell.
I like that honesty.
He wanted to be the first, right? He wanted to be the first one out here. It didn't really work out for him. Listen to the club, man. Listen, it seems like they're not going to steer you wrong if they're telling you you can be better, you can play better, you can, and then they will, when you do, send you to a nice landing spot, one better than a second division team fighting for promotion in Spain. I mean, Fenerbahce, like you said, they are a perennial powerhouse in Turkey. They are usually either in Europa League or Champions League year in and year out. And then Palmeiras is the big bad in South America right now. And again, on top of going to good places, they're getting this extra bit. Eduard Atuesta, again, wanted to play for Colombia. And Brian Rodriguez, who's been playing for Uruguay, but been wishy-washy results. If that's what he wants, they'll get him to a place that will, again, put him back in the shop window for Uruguay. So I mean, we're shills, but listen to the team. I'm going to go through all the comings and goings, and then we're going to talk about the shopping list, for lack of a better expression, because that's a terrible one, but we will talk about that in a second. So the Charlotte FC, welcome to the league. Like your jerseys. Good luck to everyone. Eric Krakauer, who have done on my pod a few times. And Stadium boss Al Rate opening another building. On the move again. I love Al Rate. I told him, I said, he changed his colors like a chameleon. Well, I told him, I go, after you've done LAFC, then you did great things there at Austin. Now he's probably gonna get this attendance record there in Charlotte. You need to just open a business called like Stadium Boss or Stadium Opener and just be a consultant. Yes, and people who want to do this, follow Al. Al's the best in the business because he worked for MLS in All-Star games to do the stadium. They called him to help with. They called Orlando is back, or for MLS is back. MLS is back, so he did LAFC, went to Austin, and one of my favorite. You could tell the Al Rate. I can't believe we're talking about this on the pod, but when they score a goal and the whole place goes green like it's the Wizard of Oz, it's so cool. That's Al. And now Charlotte FC said, we need someone to really build this thing. He might go to St. Louis and Las Vegas, whatever comes around. Might as well just open all the buildings in MLS. Just got to pay him, right? You got to give him some. Oh, yeah. Pay the man. Because he is the best that we have. So best of luck. So let's go to the Charlotte FC expansion draft. We didn't know what was going to happen. Players exposed. We talked about who we thought could be taken. Danny Musovski. We thought maybe there was a wink-wink handshake. Turned out we were incorrect. We were incorrect. So fourth pick,
Tristan Blackmon selected by Charlotte and then traded to the Vancouver Whitecaps for $300K, $475. I don't know if LAFC was involved in that trade. They probably knew about it when it happened.
It's interesting because what you're going to follow it up with, I have a feeling John knew a little bit of something, which is why there wasn't a wink-wink handshake deal.
Yeah, this was basically an expansion draft for LAFC.
It was.
He got in there, traded to Vancouver, which to me seems like a great new starting point for Tristan, who seemed like still a very talented player. A good time to hit the refresh. 5th pick, and they get 5 picks, Ismael Tajouri-Shradi, who popped off the page for New York City FC in the playoffs to me. A lot of times coming off the bench. He was a starter earlier in the season, but became more of a guy that can provide a pop, and he did. New York City winning the championship. 7 goals, Swiss-born, Libyan national. So we've had 2 Libyans on LAFC.
Mohamed El Munir.
Mohamed El Munir. I think that's a nice thing to say. And by the way, have you seen Get Back? You have seen Get Back.
Of course.
Where they're going to play at that Libyan ruins.
Lindsay Michael Hogg, what an idiot.
But what a cool story. That's been my favorite part of it.
Michael Lindsay Hogg. That's the only people are trying to pick out from that because we're
going to go to Libya. That's a bad idea.
Well, there has to be a villain in everything, right? They're like, oh, is John a jerk? Is Yoko the problem? What's George doing? He's sulking over there. Well, the only one that makes it out, and I've had these conversations with Ken, who works on the staff with us, I was like, Ringo seems awesome. I want to hang out with Ringo.
Yawns a lot.
But
Yawns a lot of that.
him and the director, that was like, maybe we could just go on a boat to Libya. Shut up.
What a bad idea.
Yeah, what a horrible idea.
So Ismael Tajouri-Shradi comes. This guy's going to fit the bill. Does he project to a starter? Maybe, depending on the moves.
Could. He's a guy that is high usage whether you start him or not, right? So he either starts or he's your first guy off the bench because he's so vibrant and energetic and just his style of play. Left-footed winger, good presser. Really
MLS campaigner.
Yeah.
Guy who knows this league.
Experience.
Which I think, and I spoke to our communications head, Seth Burton. I go, it's good to see these kind of guys, and he agreed. But this is a nice addition, as is Franco Escobar, who fits the bill as well.
Two experienced guys, gritty guys that I think, you know what's funny?
I like this one a lot, man, because he is the kind of guy. There's a video of him getting into it.
Can I share this before? So before the pod, Max and I were sitting here and we were just talking about Premier League guys. Who would you not want to fight? Just based on looks, and we were throwing some out there. I wouldn't want to fight Escobar or Tajouri-Shradi.
No.
Tough guys. We need some more of those guys, right?
Yeah, and not that I say I'd win the fights, but I think I would pick the fights with a good portion of MLSers.
Yeah.
And I think it'd still kick my tail in, but I'd say, all right, I'm in. You got me. But no, those two, no.
Yeah. I'd be picking off all those 16-year-olds that Seattle starts.
Oh, it's a long list.
Bring it, kid.
We'll do a podcast about that. Who would we pick to fight?
I bet that would be one of our best listened to podcasts.
I told you we had this ESPN, some of our guys do. If there's a Mount Rushmore of guys you want to get into a fight with.
Yeah.
Mine was very off.
Yours was Paul McCartney. No?
Yeah, he was on there. But I'm telling
you. Of course.
But it's some people in the industry, but we don't want to do it. But it's just one of those guys that kind of got your juices flowing.
Did you ever do?
I'm sure I'm on a lot of Mount Rushmores. I know that for a fact.
Did you ever do an ESPN specific one?
It'd have been great.
Like guys you want to fight from ESPN? Yeah. Oh, no one fights Bob Levy.
This one, Bob Lee, not Bob Levy. No one wants Bob Lee's the best. I'd like to get him on here.
He'll put you in a headlock. He'll pop your head off.
I don't know about that. Pretty passive.
No? Yeah, but when he gets fired up, I love it.
Yeah. No, Howie Schwab, no. There are some guys there that you don't want to mess around with.
I take on Van Pelt.
He's tall.
He's lanky.
He was in the room when we had that. He was the one who started that conversation, actually.
Oh, then bring it.
He was involved.
Bring it, SVP.
Someone else brought it up, and he laughed and said, the Mount Rushmore. People were like, duh. And then as a joke, I said Paul McCartney, and they went, get out of the room. So.
Oh, I thought you were the one that just opened the door, and they go, oh, and Bredos. And you're like, what? Hey, I brought you bagels.
I got you in. So Franco Escobar.
Tajouri-Shradi, do you have anything to add?
$400K in GAM. Nice.
Decent.
Good price.
But not over the. I mean,
and you get the championship rub.
Well, yeah, some of the things we're seeing, like Lewis Morgan going for up to 1.3 million.
Wasn't it Leggett is up to 1.3?
Well, it starts at a very low and then can go up to 1.3. But yeah, I mean, to get Tajouri-Shradi for $400K when that's happening.
After that glow, it would tell me this move says that New York City had to kind of make some moves here.
He's a direct player. We've been told that of the non-DP wingers, he pops off the page.
Oh, we forgot to mention, congratulations to New York City FC, my pick to win it all.
Oh, we mentioned it. We posted it for you.
I posted. I appreciate that.
We made you look good.
You guys put me over. But I will add this about New York City FC. I think they are set to become MLS super club as we see with Seattle.
I really like Thiago Andrade. I like Tyus Magno. Even if they lose Tati Castellanos.
But this is the Citigroup system, the Manchester City Group, working. Their clubs are starting to help each other. So I think New York City FC is going to be a very good club for the foreseeable.
If only they could get some shovels in the ground, huh?
Yeah, I know. And everyone says that. Don't hold your breath.
Yeah.
So Franco Escobar, $250K. He was at Newell's Old Boys last season, but he played for Atlanta
because
United.
He was told that he was Felipe Cardenas, who's somebody that you've talked to on your Soccer OG podcast, who does a great job for Atlanta.
You've had him here,
not when I was here.
Okay, no,
yeah, we don't talk about that. Those are dark days. But Felipe, who does a great job covering not just Atlanta United, but honestly, he's kind of like the guy that covers the South American kind of view for
which is
MLS.
an essential based on look at this conversation. All we talk is South America.
But he talked to Franco, and Franco said, Gabriel Heinze comes in. He goes, Newell's Old Boys. I played for him. We played together. I'm probably going to be a big. And the club goes, no, actually, you're out. And so Heinze actually was the one that got him the move to Newell's Old Boys, saying like, I'd been told you're not going to be. You're not at the disposal for me. And so that's where he felt like he got done a little bit dirty by the Atlanta front office. But he says he's excited to come here. He is a your traditional Argentine fullback, center back hybrid. I mean, he's a gritty guy with a little bit of skill, but just shows up in big moments. Probably lives for those big games. Scored an MLS Cup final.
Listen, but you're adding 2 MLS champions.
Yeah.
That was worth something.
Wasn't that on a lot of people's lists?
Yeah.
Hey, stop getting young guys. Start getting guys that know how to win in MLS. Well, there you go.
Certainly did that.
First 2.
So also with, what was I going to say about Newell's Old Boys, the club that gave us Lionel Messi back in the day. And is this our first Argentine? I know we had some guys kind of on the periphery.
Armando Maradona played there for a little bit.
He did. But he was
Bielsa.
Very brief.
It's a Bielsa club.
Bielsa was Newell's.
Yeah.
Have you watched the Maradona docudrama? It's not a
No, I can't.
On Amazon?
Those are so bad, aren't they?
No, the one on Amazon.
Is it?
It's good. It's good.
Is it? Okay. All right, I'll check it out.
Fernando Fiore, our former +1, makes a cameo.
If you say it's good, I will watch it.
It's enjoyable.
Because usually you and I will text each other back and forth like, you check that out yet? Oh, God.
You know what I love about it?
Like the Baggio one, they did Baggio.
Right, but in these sport movies, they have the actors play sports. You're like, that looks terrible. They actually
kick the ball and it goes over there, but then goes in the top corner.
You see them running, and then it looks so phony, and then they stay on those shots forever, and I'm like...
The goal series.
This one's here. They show the Maradona stuff. It works. Yeah. It works. So I think we went through everywhere. We got the guys coming and going. I think we got everyone. Yeah.
And that's just a start.
That's just a start.
As we're going to find out from Tom in our interview later, Tom thinks that there's going to be a lot.
There is going to be a lot.
There is going to be a lot.
You can read the tea leaves and what has been said. So this is what I have for the LAFC offseason moving forward. Mm-hmm. Obviously at the top of coach. We don't know. But there's some candidates out there you can peruse. We'll learn more, but we know a lot of people have contacted John Thornton. It doesn't mean if you hear a report that guy is all of a sudden suddenly on the top.
What I would say is consider your sources and maybe listen to some publications that you trust more than the people on Twitter. If you want to know what LAFC has been doing in terms of coaching. There's no front runner, but I would just say that like if you want to know who the actual candidates are, look at some good publications that are doing the reporting.
Carlos Vela's a question mark. We haven't heard anything. It would have been nice to hear say it's locked in. It has not been said, so we just don't know.
But he was in San Francisco taking.
He was in. Maybe it's just something like, hey, I'm spending some family time.
He does enjoy. Remember, he said, when the season ends, I need my little bit of holiday because I got to decompress, and I don't blame him.
After this podcast, guess who else is decompressing?
Oh yeah, we're gonna throw
this guy and that guy.
Yeah. Although Max, for those only on audio, Max is making drinks and doing stuff. Although I would not let you make me a drink,
and I wouldn't light a cigarette either.
No.
So maybe it's just something like that. In January, everyone hits the ground running. You don't do a lot of business here in MLS. You have to here, but you generally want to.
I think they'll have a coach in place before the preseason, and they might even be close now. We honestly don't know, but there is some part of the club that if things are done, it's like let's say they find a coach on Christmas. You're not going to announce on Christmas. You're not. And I'll just be totally transparent with you. There's some times where they hold news because they want it to go big. Duh. But we're in the business of going big. It's media. It's news. So there could very well be a coach and they're just holding it because right now a lot of things are going dead right now, right? Like everyone's going on vacation. So just put that out there.
Yeah. Are you going anywhere?
No, I'm going to stick around Long Beach.
All right. I'm doing Solvang
thought about
for
it,
a
but
couple days.
we're gonna do a trip like that, but we've got a very old dog that does not want to go in a car. Yeah,
that's good for you. I appreciate your commitment to the dog. And so the Carlos Vela coaches. Now, these are the positions that we are pretty sure are going to be addressed in the next couple of weeks. They're going to get cover for Eduard Atuesta. That could come from South America, possibly. Pancho Ginella was a guy that we earmarked. We don't know what the status of Pancho. He was protected, so all good. He was protected, right? I believe he was. He wasn't. Sorry.
He's not protected.
So, but
we also don't know
he was
with
going to come back.
His MCL injury,
yeah, we
how
don't know
much
about
longer, if he'll be ready for the start of the season. But
my guess is that there are some guys that play that. But there's some good guys in MLS.
But Pancho's not a like for Edward either. So regardless, they would want somebody, even if Pancho is in their plan.
Right. Well, I shouldn't have brought up Pancho.
Yeah.
I think there's some
We'll erase that.
We'll erase that. No, we'll keep it. Keep it. There are some good midfielders who play that position in MLS. There's some guys that maybe a little older, more MLS, could be another MLS veteran type in this.
As we started from the top, it just depends on which direction you want to go. Do you want a guy that's a disruptor, ball winner? Do you want a guy more like Atuesta? If you want a guy more like Atuesta, I think you might have to go outside the league. Or, like you said, the closest comparison is Darlington Nagbe. I'm not starting a rumor. I'm just saying who that is. But they will be having to add someone in that position for sure.
The one thing we talked to John about in both of those interviews, I don't know which one it came out, but Jose Cifuentes is going to play a bigger role in that midfield, it would seem.
I think it was in both
interviews. John was very complimentary about how he is going to be one of those guys.
Sifu was going to be I think he broke out for LAFC, but I thought he was going to break out across the whole league. And there was like a couple moments. There was a 2-month span where I was like, yes, I'm right. Everyone's going to know how good this is.
That ball.
And then he kind of dropped off. He got gassed. He had to do a lot of work. Remember, he played as a 10-ish, as a 10/ kind of really attacking mid. He played as an 8, as a box-to-box guy, and he played as a 6 this season. He did put in a lot of miles.
I think they get a veteran midfielder, number 6, and then they get a nice young player they can groom along, maybe
an extra
Sifu mold.
An extra Sifu 8 to 10.
Yes, 8 to 10. Yeah. Goalkeeper.
For sure.
Only have Thomas Romero. Congratulations with the Salvadorian national team.
Yes, good for him.
And he probably not going to start because he had his moment.
He's 21.
He's 21, so you can groom him a lot. He's your young project as a goalkeeper. So a veteran goalkeeper.
There's some veteran goalkeepers in MLS that
you think it'll be an MLS guy? Because there's some good ones out there.
Give me
names.
Steve Clark.
See, you said Steve Clark earlier. I go, yeah, there's a good veteran guy.
Because I look at his numbers. There's Alex Kahn, who's a backup at Atlanta that has some good numbers that would be interesting. I don't know if they're going to go MLS, but I would kind of like them to because it just seems like
it works.
MLS
look at the guys at the end.
Seem to work.
Sean Johnson was there. Yeah. Steve Clark, Tim Melia, Stephen Fry. These are MLS guys.
Yeah, for every Pedro Gallese, there's like 7 or 8 guys that are international that just did not work out.
Pedro Gallese.
And even he is up and down. Yeah.
He is up and down. He's great with Peru.
Yeah.
With Orlando so-so. All right, so midfielder, maybe 1 or 2 guys.
1 or 2, yeah.
Tweaks. Goalkeeper for sure. We'll talk about Vela, coach, designated player. Everything we are hearing, they're going to get a designated player in this January window. Mm-hmm. Who that is, no, but we could preview what we talked to Tom Bogert about. It's going to be an attacking player, but where in that attacking role, we don't know.
Yeah.
But somebody there who's going to be probably pretty high profile.
Well, you know what's interesting is like we always talk about like what are they going to do exactly, and I know for the longest time everyone's like we need a number 9, just a specific number 9. But it behooves you in this league to have a guy that can play a little bit of a other position, right? Because even Chicho's not just a true number 9.
But Chicho, we saw him out wide and played pretty well. Yeah. Hard to dispossess, good dribbler, not a point A to point B as the crow flies dribbler like Diego Rossi, but he can kind of meander. And
I think in a salary cap league to try to have specialists is a recipe for disaster. And the more you can have multifunctional guys, and also this is the way football is going. You attack with 11, you defend with 11. Everyone needs to be able to press. Everyone needs to be able to pass and dribble a little bit. I think it just fits into LAFC's DNA to have players that, if they find themselves on the left wing, are okay with being on the left wing. If they find themselves in a deeper role, are okay with being in a deeper role. So I think any DP that comes in, I don't think they're going to be a true specialist where they're just like, that's a 9 that stands in the box and just bangs them in from 6 yards out. I just don't see it.
Defensively, Chiqui Palacios, Eddie Segura back, hopefully 100%.
Hopefully.
We still have to. We can't.
Every time we see Eddie, he's like, I'm ready to go. We're like, well, just.
Mamadou Fall, Franco Escobar's in there, Sebastian Ibiaga's in there, Kim Moon Hwan, and then Franco Escobar could probably play some right back. So you have maybe one more defender.
Maybe one more, but
That's your core group there.
Yeah, if you say that's your core, that's your starting spot, wow.
That buys some time for either Kim or Mamadou Fall with Franco Escobar. That's why he's such a valuable addition. All right. I think we covered all this pretty well.
Yeah.
I just want to go over the schedule.
Yes, we should.
Briefly go through the schedule.
Jason doesn't tell us what to do.
A couple highlights. So it starts February 26th.
How many minutes are we in, Jason?
It's probably a long one.
1,000 minutes in. Wow, this is a 1,000-minute podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations. You are now all part of a Guinness World Record.
February 26th, it all begins. The regular season ends Sunday the 9th. There are a lot of new wrinkles in the schedule, which we like. I was a big advocate of West plays West, East plays East. There's too many teams. MLS didn't do that, and now that I see the schedule, I'm glad they didn't because I'm excited about playing DC United and the New York Red Bulls. Traveling, so many places will travel for the first time. At Cincinnati and their new stadium. At Columbus. At Miami. So I'm pretty sure I'll be at the Miami game.
We're all staying with you, right?
No, I'll be there for some Combate Global, and I'll just stick around. It's perfect timing. Friday. Do we go to Key West?
We're counting on you, Max, to be our tour guide.
Okay, so Friday I'm busy. Saturday's the game.
We should
the 12th. Thursday night Miami blowout.
Yeah. There should be a big Max Bretos hosted LAFC tour.
Come on, everybody, baby, do the conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer. Feel the rhythm.
Okay, Gloria.
Gloria Stefan is our.
Is what?
She's our queen, man.
Okay, all right.
That was rude.
Hard way to go from there.
Stefan. Man, don't make fun of the Estefans in Miami, dude. You won't get out, brother.
I'm making more fun of I know that's her #1 song, but could you find something else?
She's got a lot of #1 hits. Everything's accelerated because they want to get obviously the World Cup. Still honor some international breaks.
Yep. And managed to find a way to only have 5 midweek games.
6 games in May. Yeah, we have some midweek games. Not crazy, but you have to have them.
5, and a lot of them are on the back end, which is fine.
You get your rivalries 2 against the Galaxy.
Which
the
is the
first
way it should
one
be. No more
is
playing
April
3
the 9th at their place. The second one is Friday,
pretty
July
early
the
in the
8th.
schedule.
That's fine. Of all of it, I know a lot. The Eastern Conference is my #1 feature, but the road games, we're going to pick ones we would like to travel. Miami, which will happen. And October the 2nd at Portland, the penultimate fixture.
Ooh.
That looks like a fun one to go to.
I really want to go. I really want to go to Nashville. Their new stadium's going to be ready by the time we get out there. That'll be awesome.
But you get the Columbus new stadium, you get the Cincinnati new stadium as well. I know
this
I mentioned
is the LAFC new stadium tour. Really,
Charlotte comes here, so we don't go.
Well, they don't have a new stadium anyways.
No.
So, but it's the new stadium tour. I mean, the couple high-level things I saw: Galaxy on a Friday night, hosting the Galaxy.
Friday games.
Some Friday night.
Do people
lights.
not like Friday games?
It's hard Friday games because you get off work and it's already hard to get into.
Okay, I can respect that.
They love their tailgating starting at 9 a.m. even if it's a 7.
So Saturday is the best game. So you want Saturday games.
Saturday's the best.
There's not a ton.
But there's
not a ton of Saturday games.
Yeah.
There's some Fridays, so we understand.
Still though, you can go hard, and there's something special for me about Friday night with the lights.
And nursing a hangover on Saturday.
Yeah. Give me that extra day. I'm old, man. I need Sunday for my day to go for a run with Max Bretos. Other things in the schedule that stuck out to me was tough front end and back end for LAFC. First 11 games, 8 teams that made the playoffs to start. And on the back half, 6 of 9 are away.
It starts early with you get 3 of 4 at home, and then you get a bunch of road games in April. But then that back end of the season is a bunch of road games, and like I said, those first 11 games are going to be interesting with a new coach, a lot of movement. If LAFC, which no one's really ever out of it after 11 games, but if they're looking good and they're looking like the team that we recognize and they're picking up points, I think they'll be very solid for this year. But 8 playoff teams in the first 11 matches is tough. Very exciting. And my final tidbit here, for the first time since I've been with LAFC and since they started, we have more local games than national games. So a little more Bretos. 16 national games? 16 national, so 18 local. It's usually 17 or 18-16. Now we have 18. Good. We still have the Tom Bogert interview. You don't want to miss that. We will cover what it is, really interesting stuff on what it takes to build an offseason and what LAFC are looking at. That is ahead on Inside LAFC, the Max and Vince podcast. We'll be right back. We are back here on Inside LAFC, the MVP podcast, and our official final guest of the year, correct?
Wow, yeah.
Our official final guest of the year. We're going to end it big. It's none other than the man with the stash himself. It's not even November anymore. It's still proudly there. Tom Bogert, who is an incredible writer for publications everywhere. The Guardian, 442, and you'll see him. His tweets are generally heavily retweeted because he's breaking so much news. Tom, welcome to our little podcast. It's great to have you.
I'm honored to be the last guest of the year. I'm sorry about the disappointment and that incurs just with all the other great guests you've had. And with the mustache thing, this is the toughest time to have a mustache because when the first couple weeks of December, people are like, you do know that November ended, right? And I'm like, no, this is just what I do most of the year. And they're like, oh, but you do know November ended, right? And I'm like, yeah, so it takes a little bit of getting used to for people. And that's their polite way of telling me, I think you should shave.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I brought that up. It was tongue in cheek. I was goofing around. I know you're a 12-month-a-year stash guy, and by the way, Spanish word for mustache. You know what it is?
No.
Bigote. How great is that word? Bigote.
Cool.
Bigote. If you want to drop that one.
What's my last name?
Hey, Tom, I want to start right.
Yeah, please start.
Kind of an umbrella effect here, or a trickle down effect with your answers to our questions. And MLS Cup has been handed out, and now we begin the offseason. The offseason in the European leagues, and I'm sure in South America, are welcomed with a lot of excitement. It's called the silly season. Wasn't really like that in MLS. It is now. So we know everything just explodes once, even before the end of the season. So how do you prepare for an offseason now that is highly viewed, highly scrutinized, and so many eyeballs on it because there's so many fans wondering what their team is going to do?
Yeah, that's a good question. But to be fair, the silly season, even around these parts now, is a year-round thing. So silly season never stops. To be fair, it just gets much busier now. Trying to talk to people, trying to hear some things, just go up the ladder on this person told me this, that person told me this, and kind of get around. Just a lot of doom staring into your phone. A lot of anxiety when you wake up of let me look at my phone right away. Okay, we're good. I can put my phone down and go get coffee now. So yeah, just a lot of anxiety really is how you prepare for it.
Yeah. Do you have any moments?
I feel terrible.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I missed that.
Like there's got to be times when you're trying to be present and you're like hanging with family and you're having a great time and you're like, oh my God, I could be missing something right now, right? Like just sheer terror.
Thankfully, I'm good with that. I'm like when I'm around people, I'm able to kind of separate it a little bit, unless that there's like something that like the Brian Reynolds thing was a long drawn out saga last year. And that I was hoping it was going to be wrapped up before Christmas, selfishly, just because I wouldn't have to be on my phone. But, getting closer to New Year's, it felt like I was calling people every day or, okay, I need to stay by my phone and not miss a call here. But it's worse when I'm alone and it's like, oh, there's, I guess theoretically no reason for me to not pick up my phone right now. But 99% of the time, you're not getting anything. I guess the Jeremy Abobasi trade in the summer, I was tracking that for a while, for months. I didn't know that he was going to end up in San Jose, to be fair. So it's not like I was sitting on a story or anything, but I was definitely in there. And the news broke while I was playing my crappy men's league soccer game. So I missed it. And then the follow-up news broke 30 minutes later because another reporter was able to see the initial report, confirm it, get more details. And I pick up my phone and I just see all of that. And I'm like, God damn it, man, come on.
Yeah.
Why did it have to happen in this hour?
That was your baby. I appreciate that you have a work-life balance. Maybe we'll have to bring you on for a different podcast to teach us how to get that actual work-life balance.
I want to talk about the league and LAFC, but I'm curious, what was the biggest story you broke? And I hate to double barrel questions, but how does that work with building relationships to get this information? Is it just I've built a relationship with this person, so I'll call him or call her and find out about how these things are going, how they're percolating, and how they will end up?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, the biggest news would be the Brendan Aronson to Salzburg.
Yes,
transfer.
I remember that. Yeah.
I had broken some things before that, but like rightfully so, people, it takes a little while to gain trust, as it should. Even on the internet, sometimes people see things and retweet it, and that's how you start to get it. But I was really still on the outside until that, when then people started going like, oh, like he actually has good information, good sources, and kind of, I think, moved me forward more than anything. And just, Brendan's a New Jersey kid. There's, New Jersey is a very small, it feels like, soccer family. There's a million people who ever play soccer, but it feels like you're never separated from degrees from another New Jersey soccer player. So that felt like that was local. I had to nail down that one. And as far as, getting relationships, it is honestly about being genuine, trustworthy, but being, I guess, honest and direct too, because, you know, you don't want to be a salesman and paint things, or you misrepresent things or pretend, you know, just talking, trying to loosen people up. You know, I think people respect when you're forthright, when you're honest, and you know, just above all, just doing the right thing and doing good work. I know that's, you know, not necessarily a fun answer and a little overly serious answer, but you know, that has served me well so far.
Well, it's important. I mean, you and I have gone back and forth a little bit about what it takes to do this job, and it's one of the reasons why I don't do this job. Like literally in my Twitter profile, I say I do not break transfers because I don't want to be a part of it. Also, being so close to a team, like you would know who my source is, right? It wouldn't be that hard.
Exactly.
But for you, look. The first thing I would say for people that want a primer on like what good rumors are, here's a good start. Tom uses his actual name and his actual picture in his profile. That's a good start, right, Tom? But tell us like how, honestly, it is difficult because like you said, with Brian Reynolds is a perfect example. It's a long period sometimes. These deals normally aren't just like, hey, by the way, we're doing this right now. So you're actually reporting stuff and it might be true at the time. And then some random account will say, no, that's not true. And then they get the publicity for saying that's not true. But then you're continuing to report it. Like, what's it like to go through the ebbs and flows of the story, and then also deal a little bit with kind of the clowns that kind of come through and just like, because look, rumors are. I try to tell people all the time, rumors don't cost anything, but they seem to sell a lot, and so it's tough for you though because it's your name on the line.
Yeah, and you know, jokingly the New Jersey nature, a little combative, a little sarcastic, a little fun. So it is something that I like to joke around with stuff like that, and you know, anonymous accounts or whatever. It's just trying to have fun and again, not take it overly seriously. But yeah, sometimes it can get annoying where I don't know, even with the Sebastian Jet stuff, I was hearing from anonymous accounts and like, oh, like somebody else had this for whatever, and I was like, I just don't really care. Like I don't know, like I try to just not take most things seriously, but yeah. It's tough, and that's why, I mean, it is, I guess, boring to be nuanced because it seems like I hedge a little bit sometimes, but even with the Brian Reynolds stuff was a great example. Like, Juventus thought they had him, but they didn't. And some outlets in Italy were saying it's done to Juve. And for weeks, I was being told it's not entirely true. It could very well be, you know, there's agreement on fees, contract, who knows, like, you know, it's not done. And like, I use using the word done is pretty sacred to me. Like I'll do finalizing, agreed in principle, whatever. But like if I use done only when it's over, there's nothing that can happen. I mean, I guess like a failed medical, but for that's kind of where I draw the line. And again, that's not fun. And I don't like to make it seem like I'm hedging sometimes when it's like interest or finalizing or subject to whatever. But that's because I'm trying pretty desperately not to say something, this is happening 100%. Because the one time it doesn't, or if it doesn't, or whether you're 99% sure rather than 100, then like, and that's going to hold, like, regardless if people remember or not, that's something that I wouldn't forget and I would carry with me moving forward. And it's just, I try to be careful with being definitive about things. Like, so that's kind of where that one goes for me.
Well, like you said, it's not hedging, it's specifics, right? I mean, the deal takes a lot of specifics and you aren't saying done because there's still specifics.
Yeah. So, you know, and like I said, that's, theoretically could cost you if you're trying to move up quickly and gain, you know, and doing it for selfish reasons or whatever. But, you know, people gravitate towards this is done, this is happening or stuff. Nobody likes nuance. Nuance doesn't sell. Nuance isn't fun. That's not, you know, I feel like Twitter's good because it makes me be concise, or I would probably ramble too much when it comes to like trying to add context. And more often than not, it's unnecessary context, but it's just me going like, well, there's also this and also kind of that. And like, I just want to, you know, full story here, but you know, Twitter helps you concise it a little bit, even as I ramble and even as I do like multiple tweet threads. And so,
well, your precision on Twitter is fantastic. Gets the point across. We appreciate the specificity. Did I hit that?
You got it. Maybe the second time.
Specificity. Why'd you say that in my ear again? Not.
Just keep it moving. Just keep it moving.
Keep it moving.
Yeah.
Specificity.
Is that the name of a YouTube album?
Obviously, a hit to your credibility in this line of work could be very painful. Could leave a mark. So obviously, you have to move on. I want to talk about LAFC, and you had an interview with John Thorrington a few weeks back, just covering this club. And we know you have your hands on all the MLS clubs. Charlotte FC is out there now, and I saw you talking about the direction they are. So you have to balance them all, but LAFC does carry a little more weight because they could be more active in these marketplaces, it would appear. What have you learned about LAFC in general by covering them, and how do you prepare to cover their offseason in particular?
I think something that I've learned, and one of the things I like about this club, is the infrastructure has been really strong since day one. Bob Bradley, John Thornton, and everybody else that kind of went into it, and I forget exactly when Will Kuntz arrived, but the infrastructure was in place really early, and it was really strong infrastructure, and that's the basis of where the club grows. That's part of why the club, there's a million reasons why the club was so successful right off the bat, but that's a huge reason, and that has helped. The scouting departments in clubs and other kind of infrastructure like that isn't really talked about a ton. I've been trying to, because that's something that Charlotte has done really well too. I think that they've had the international scouting networks, and the level of quality is something I hadn't seen in an expansion club from pre-day one since LAFC. And I think that that's something that LAFC did well. I think that when they go to South America in particular, they're incredibly strong. And you're never going to be 100% on signings or coaches or everything, but their hit rate is really, really good when it comes to South America. And, John Thornton has, in various interviews over the years has been deliberate about that. And he's tried to not, I guess, overpromise. He said, yeah, we'd love to be in every market, but, we feel we're strong in South America right now. We're, a couple of years ago, he was talking about we're starting to expand better in Africa. And you can look at, just a few of the signings that have come through there. And he's like, more and more to be able to go. We think we have a good handle on Europe and Asia, and then Moon comes in last window. So I think that they've been deliberate, they've been smart, and again the academy is just a good microcosm of this. They said we're going to start with, I believe it was the U15 team. We're just going to start with, or the U12, whatever it was. That first academy class they didn't start with the U18 team. We said, we don't need to have a homegrown sign next year. What we want is our first crop of homegrowns to be set the standard and be what we want it to be. And we want them to have years in our academy. So they really are players. They're not kids that were, came to us at 17. We had them in the academy for a year and then signed a homegrown deal. So I think there's all of that. Deliberate is one word I would use to describe this team. And again, it's easy to point to Carlos Vela and money and whatever else that has made this team really, really good to begin with. But I think those are some of the factors that are behind the scenes that I don't think that we talk about enough.
Well, so
it's good to be deliberate. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Be deliberate.
Deliberate is
this
good.
Holiday season.
Look, you've talked to John Thornton. We've talked to John Thornton. What we love about John is he will talk to you and he will be open with you and he will tell you the things he can tell you and say to you, okay, I can't tell you that and this is why. But this year more than ever, like Max said, there's always a little bit of intrigue around LAFC, but this year more than ever, I think the intrigue's just grown in multitudes because really this is kind of going to finally be LAFC 2.0, right? We're at the point where we're down to 2 day oneers and possibly less. Carlos might go. Latif, who knows what he's going to be. Jordan Harvey, we don't know his status yet. But what is you've talked to John, we've talked to John. I'm sure we've got some similar answers, but what's kind of the vibe that you're getting, and what are you kind of starting to hear from how busy LAFC is going to be?
Very busy, and to keep it succinct and keep it short. But yeah, the theme of this is LAFC 2.0. Last year was. This year, I guess 2021 rather than last year. This year was a bit of an odd transition year because you still had Vela wasn't ever present because of injuries and all the things. Bob was still the coach, Latif was still there, but by mid-season, Mark Anthony Kaye was gone, and then a couple weeks later, Diego Rossi was gone, and already before that, Eddie Segura came, during that inaugural year, he was injured, and it's just you look around the field and it's think of that starting XI against the Seattle Sounders in that incredible debut game, or the key players from that Supporters Shield run. It's like you said, it was getting smaller and smaller. And, Tristan Blackmon was the latest to go now. And the key players are different. You'd still imagine that Vela is going to be a super important player as long as he can, just whatever minutes he can play or whatever, when it comes down to health and fitness. But for a lot of 2021, when he wasn't in the lineup, it was oh, wow, this is really a new era. And all the reports that came starting in the summer or whatever it was with Bob being in the last year of his contract, it was oh, wow, I was writing at the beginning of the season, maybe this is probably LAFC's last year with that 2019 Shield winning core and the LAFC 1.0 that we knew. And, by the middle of the season, you're is it already over? Is this already a new team? And then with Kaye going and Rossi going to Fenner, and then Bob obviously in the winter here with as well as Blackmon, they're it's completely LAFC 2.0. And at least one DP is going to come in this winter. That's the plan from what I've heard. Obviously, a new coach is coming. The Athletic just reported, the South American candidates that's slipping my mind. I know Ante Razov has impressed in interviews. So they'll have a new coach soon, and they'll have a couple more key signings. I'm sure that they're going to utilize a lot of that allocation money and that they freed up, some of the roster space that they freed up and everything else. And again, this is one of the small handful of teams to watch this offseason. You look at the expansion team first and foremost. Charlotte's going to take center stage as the expansion darlings, but LAFC, Toronto, Orlando are some of the teams that I think are going to be the most exciting to watch this offseason.
They've already been pretty active in this offseason, and we have discussed some of the players that have come and gone. Obviously, the Eduard Atuesta move is at the top of the list. Tristan Blackmon, we touched on going in the expansion draft. Ismael Tajouri-Shradi coming in. Franco Escobar coming in. We know there's a lot of targets that they still have to fill coming on. So when you think of activity, what do you think this might look like for LAFC? Obviously, the coach, obviously a DP, as you touched on.
Those are the magic two letters. You said DP.
Letters. Anything beyond that? I mean, because we talked to John, he said there's going to be tweaks, but tweaks could be big. Tweaks could be a little smaller, but this could be pretty significant.
And tweaks is subjective. I don't know what if me and John have the same idea of tweaks, because just Bob Barrett leaving in and of itself, I don't think that counts as a tweak. I think that's
right.
A huge thing.
That's pretty big.
But yeah, I mean, Tajouri-Shradi, by the way, to go off on a quick tangent, I like that move. I would have liked him under Bob Bradley. I think he would have fit that system very well, and I think he still will. But again, LAFC, they won't play exactly like they did under Bob. But John has said this, and everybody at the club has said, every manager gets to put their own spin on it. But the profile of manager we're looking at is this kind of football. This is what we want to play. So I think Tajouri-Shradi was a good signing. Between him and Blackmon being taken in the expansion draft, there's a real argument to be made that Charlotte's best two picks they traded, and that was, again, they got a lot of value for those two picks, but. Again, the two best players that went off the board don't play for Charlotte or won't play for Charlotte. And RIP, end of an era, Tristan Blackmon and Ismael Tajouri-Shradi in Charlotte. Minute one, day one guys. I hope that they have a good round of applause when they come back as Charlotte FC legends to the team. But yeah, DP is a big word, and they've already filled with some of that allocation money in those two trades. Those are significant moves, particularly Franco Escobar. You expect that that's a dude that's going to start 30 games if everything goes right. So I guess that's where I could see with the tweaks now with some of these guys in place, and the back line will stay somewhere. The new goalie will most likely need to come, new starting goalie rather, most likely need to come in. There's going to be a number of holdovers as far as starters. And again, Vela is still the heartbeat of this team when he's healthy and available. So I get the argument for tweaks, but again, if from August 25th or whatever, before Diego Rossi has left, Bob Bradley has left, Eduard Atuesta has left, that is a lot more than tweaks for me.
In your either what you're hearing or in your talks with John, I think one of the biggest things, and you don't have to give a name because I want to go more in this direction. When you're talking DP, LAFC goes two very distinct directions: the Carlos Vela direction or the Brian Rodriguez, Diego Rossi direction. Where do you feel that John Thorrington is in that, where it looks like a DP will be added, but where's his mind at in that profile?
So an attack-minded player, from John was on the record talking about this. He didn't box himself into whether it's going to be a winger or a 10 or a center forward or whatever, but it's earmarked for an attacking slot. And he also said that he agreed with that sentiment. There's also obviously the LAFC have generally signed younger players, and most of their investments and most of their either transfer fees or roster resources or salaries, most of that's gone to younger players. So you can assume it's going to be a younger player, whether it's 18-year-old Diego Rossi or 23-year-old, say, more closer to in his prime. But I'd expect something that route. That being said, regardless, before they officially picked up Vela's option and when there was more, I guess, questions about his future, then his status and his availability on the roster doesn't take them away from signing, say, somebody more in their prime, if that makes any sense, or if that does much for you. But I still assume and would guess, just again based on everything that they've done in their history, this front office and this club, as far as acquiring players and what the profile is that they prefer, I'd still assume that's going to be, say, a younger 20s player, but they're not ruling themselves out of, say, 26 to a 30-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Vince is going to kill me for this question because he's at wit's end with this. But the allocation money brought in with Walker look at him. He's already
Walker. You said
Walker's.
He's going to say Walker Zimmerman. I just don't want to talk about it anymore.
Just give our listeners an idea. And Vince has described it very well, but I'd love to hear from you. Give us an idea of what that extra money in the coffers does for LAFC heading into this offseason.
I think the most useful, the way that allocation money is best used for a club like this, and you look at what they've done with some of the younger players signed, is buying down budget hits, whether it's acquisition costs or salaries. That's how they were able to sign Francisco Janela and Jose Cifuentes and Diego Palacios. And I'm sure I'm forgetting other younger players that came in from, not free or whatever. That's where the allocation money is needed. And I assume that based on his, seating a little bit in the corner, that Vince is of the same opinion of me, that I think that it'd be more valuable to have Walker Zimmerman. It's obviously easy to say this in hindsight, but again, that's, I guess, the rationale of where the money would go, and that the idea would be to spread it around to more players and be able to take kind of more swings on a handful of younger players rather than, I guess, for a non-DP to have so much, I guess, salary cap or roster space kind of tied in or resources given to. But yeah, I'm generally with Vince on this one.
Yeah, I mean, you look back.
You guys both described it very well. I just want to say,
look, Walker.
That was a less.
Look, I love Walker. He's Captain America. He's Chris Hemsworth stand-in. But you knew that he was probably asking for DP level money. I don't think.
Well, he didn't get a DP level deal in Nashville, so.
Well, he got above the maximum, right? So they buy him down, so he's not a DP. But technically, you could very well be.
Yeah, he could.
But yeah, you spread it around.
You guys are a pair of sticklers, you know that?
Yeah.
I mean, listen to this shop talk.
Nothing is better than MLS roster cap talk. You're the one who asked the game question.
Yeah, we had 15 minutes with Tom about how important it is to be specific, and you can't just be running around, running your mouth, and just saying that. So we're going to do that. Yeah, this isn't Twitter, Max.
I enjoy it.
This is real life.
You guys think you're nerding out. I enjoy it. This is good stuff.
Max does love it.
I do. I can't get enough of it. That's why I asked the question.
Do you got anything else? Tom's like just knocking it out of the park each one. Do you got? I mean, he's knocked all my questions.
You have a question?
I have no. If you got good stuff, go.
I know you don't have the schedules memorized, but what stood out about the schedule? For me, the reintroduction of East versus West, obviously cramming a schedule, starting it earlier, ending it earlier to accommodate the World Cup, which has got to be painstaking work. But what stood out? And it could be LAFC, it could be more league oriented. What stood out for you?
You could kind of just go droning on in a coach speak here without having to think and be like, Trafico, Portland, Seattle, all the normal fixtures that you look forward to. But I'm a sucker for these new stadium openings, man. Like particularly Charlotte's an Argo home game. Like they're very much expected to break the single game record in league history for attendance. Like, it's going to be super fun. I'm sure that atmosphere is going to be incredible if they do get 75,000 there. Really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to Nashville opening their new stadium on May 1st, I believe. That looks like it's going to be another beautiful soccer-specific arena in this country. And then just, like you said, or like I already alluded to, the usual suspects, the El Traficos, the Cali Clásicos, the Cascadia Cup. I forget, somebody was joking with opening weekend. I could just I could talk myself into why I'm so excited to watch FC Dallas versus Toronto or insert any air quote lower.
That's not true, Tom. I don't believe you.
Let's say Ricardo Pepe, maybe Insigne, who the Bob Bradley debut. Come on,
you're right. You're right.
At the top of your head, but yeah. So that and like you said, with I'm so happy that there's more interconference play between East and West. I get why the pandemic made it so there was only 3 games this year. I just, I like watching variants. I like watching all these teams play. So I was talking to a head coach one day, and he's just he's head coach in the East. He's like, man, I usually in years past I watch every single game I can. But he's like, dude, we just don't play any Western Conference teams. So there's so many games. It's difficult for. He's like, I don't think I've watched Portland in 2 months. So I don't know. And I felt that way too. How many times have you watched New England versus Philly or?
Yeah, it started to wear us down.
It feels like we've watched these games over and over again. I just love being able to watch new games and all these teams play each other. And I wish, I know that it's easy to, sit here and I couldn't possibly imagine making the schedule. That's an awful job. But I do wish that there was a way to have more of this and you play every team once, but with 28 teams soon to be 30 within a couple of years, that's just not going to be possible. So you just got to relish these matches.
Quickly, Tom, does this schedule tweak, and I don't know where you fall on this, MLS Cup versus Supporter Shield, does it make the Supporter Shield better? And should the Supporter Shield be better? And I'm saying this knowing not where you fall. You could very well be a Kalen Carr, and you're going to tell me MLS Cup's the only thing that matters. But what's your thoughts?
I think that both trophies matter a ton. Like, I get it why MLS Cup matters and whether we want to call it not a perfect representation, but that's what all sports is, man. Like, if not necessarily the best team wins that, but then you could say that the Revs were, set a league record for points, but they also had, 10 games against the bottom 3 in the Eastern Conference, which is probably worse than the bottom 3 in the Western Conference. So I'm of the opinion that both trophies should mean a lot and do mean a lot. I think that they, particularly with 30 or soon to be 30 teams, like, there needs to be a lot of incentives. Like, that's my favorite part of the soccer model, as opposed to, traditional American sports, is there's more than one thing to play for. And when you go to European soccer and here, like, when it comes to qualification for regional tournaments, like, I love the idea that there's more than, air quote, one winner at the end of the season. So I put a lot of stock in the Supporters Shield. I don't know that I would call it more important than MLS Cup, just because of, what happens in those games. And I get that you can have, a weird game that eliminates a really good team, or a run from a team that was, let's say, the 8th best team in the league over the regular season, or then maybe you look back at May games and even the champions. I think NYCFC were very, very deserving, but you look back in August and September, they won one of 10 games, and they had a run like that. And, I love that there's just more to play for, and that, NYCFC can simultaneously be very, very deserving champions for what they did during the year and the playoffs. But then you could also look at, that little 10-game run where it's like, let's forget about that and let's put that away.
In England, they have the Community Shield, the FA Cup winner versus the Premier League winner. Would you welcome?
That's not a real trophy.
No?
Oh, then you don't want to see a Supporter Shield versus MLS Cup.
What if we call it the Bredos Bogert Shield?
I would like to see that game.
Shut that down quick.
But anybody coming out here no, I'm set, but it's one of my pet peeves, and people have said it because I'm a Liverpool fan. People have said it's just because Liverpool haven't won that trophy. It's no, Liverpool won it. Like when people say, Manchester City won the treble because they won the Premier League, the FA Cup, and the Community Shield. Get out of here! What are you saying? It's not a real trophy.
I agree with you.
We're on the same page there. We're definitely on the same page there.
Okay. What if there was $1 million on offer?
That's good. I hope that there is.
I mean, I think
I don't have that, but if someone wants to invest in this little game,
we definitely don't. But I feel like MLS could put that together. I don't put that out of the realm of
something called league stuff. Maybe just spitballing here.
It's a lot
I know
of games.
They just love it. It's too many games. It's too many games.
Tom Bogert, you've been an incredible bookend for our 2021 guest book. We appreciate you. We look forward to talking to you again soon. And just for everyone, Tom is the goods. Absolute delightful guy, and he'll sit and talk to you about the game, and he knows his stuff. So we appreciate you being
Follow
on here,
Tom on Twitter if you want the real rumors. The real it's hard to call them rumors. They are rumors, but you actually have some meat behind them. So please follow Tom if you want to know what's really going on. He's got his finger on the pulse. That's for sure.
Have a happy holidays, Tom.
You as well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Tom.
Oh, and alas, that's the end.
That's it.
So we'll be back in January, early January, because we'll have, based on everything Tom has said, we'll be very busy here.
It's LFC 2.0, man. Everything's up for grabs.
Did you?
It might be someone different. Maybe not you. Maybe not me. I don't know.
What?
I don't know.
Wait a minute. I have a contract.
Well, maybe the fans should subscribe and listen so that
subscribe, listen, rate, review, share, download, do it all. For the final time here on the Inside LAFC MVP podcast. So long, farewell. We'll see you in 2022. Have a safe holidays and take care of each other.
Goodbye.